I'm here with Rousseau Lo, Head of Portfolio Analytics and Asset Allocation, Craigs Investment Partners. Rousseau, it's been wonderful to have you here at the Investment Leaders Forum New Zealand.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a great conference and so many thought-provoking things have been discussed. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Rousseau, describe for me Craigs Investment Partners. It's the breadth of the business and what is your day-to-day role look like? What does it look like in practice every day?
So Craigs Investment Partners, we're just celebrating our 40th anniversary. We started off as a brokerage firm, and I think many Australian firms started like that, and then we evolved into a wealth management business. So we manage money for people across like the spheres of wealth, from smaller portfolios up to people with 80 million, 100 million in their portfolio. And our bread and butter service offering is bespoke portfolio management. So we do a mix of different assets in our portfolios, from private markets through to the traditional markets. And risk profiling is the foundation of what we do. And then from there, we invest the client's money. So my day-to-day, and I wear various hats at the company. So obviously head of asset allocation. So we decide about the long-term asset allocation decisions, and we review that maybe every 3 or 4 years, or depending on if there are any structural breaks in the market. I'm also on the investment committee, so co-chair of the investment committee, and we look at the tactical moves that we need to make over the short term. And then part of the really interesting, aspects of my job is the portfolio analytics side. So working with our portfolio managers and the model portfolios that they give out as guidance, but also we've got maybe over 13,000 managed client portfolios. So looking across those portfolios, and all of it amounts to about $31 billion of assets that we've got. So it's a complex story, but it's a wonderful world, and we've been very successful in creating wealth for New Zealanders over time.
Describe for me the New Zealand market. A small population, obviously, it's one of the smaller stock exchanges in the developed world, but does that give New Zealanders, through necessity, a much greater incentive to look outside New Zealand and avoid home bias?
Yeah. So you can hear from my accent, I'm South African, and I've lived and worked abroad for most of my life. And coming to New Zealand, I'd categorize our market as a small to mid cap structural market, and it offers immense opportunity. So I understand that the home country bias, it can be negative, and there are some dangers to it, but there's also this informational efficiency that you have as a local and as a local analyst that you don't necessarily get in other more developed economies. So we do see that home country bias. I think culturally New Zealanders like tangible assets. They like to own things that they know and that they can see. That translates into the portfolios and the appetite for New Zealand assets. But there's also, I think, immense value that we can create investing locally over and above the tax incentives that our clients have.
Rousseau, what do you see in terms of opportunities for the Australian and New Zealand market?
So within these markets, just because of the informational inefficiencies that we have relative to the global markets, and Australasia, last time I checked, was about 1.8% of the MSCI. We don't have the focus and the scrutiny that, for instance, the S&P 500 has. So there's a lot of opportunity, especially in the under-researched parts of the markets, to create value. We've just had an amazing speaker describe the small cap market in Australia and the anomaly that exists there, and the value creation that is possible. So the same exists in New Zealand. I also think that let's call it the unlisted parts of the market that offers immense opportunity. So in the private equity space and the private debt space and infrastructure, just with the market not being oversaturated with demand, there is still opportunities to get assets at decent prices.
Is it natural for New Zealand brokerages and advice firms to look at the larger stock market in Australia as an easily accessible, greater diversification of industrial and sector exposures?
Absolutely. I think from a New Zealand perspective, and the evolution that we've seen over the last 20 years, Australia was the first port of call when they step internationally. So there's this natural focus, and I think from a Kiwi perspective, they relate to the Australian businesses. They know many of them, and it's only recently in the past 10 years or so where the appetite for large international parts of the portfolios have grown considerably. So like we see both aspects coming more into New Zealand portfolios. So diversification into Australia. The interesting thing there is that from what I'm hearing locally is that there's quite an appetite for the mid-market section of Australia. Just given that let's call it the top 40, top 50 type shares might be fully valued. And then internationally, there's two different appetites that I'm hearing across the market, where people like to go passive, either passive or active. So it's almost like it's like the market is separated into those two sectors. So yeah, interesting.
Rousseau Lo, it's been great having you at the Investment Leaders Forum New Zealand. It's an initiative of the Inside Network to bring the New Zealand and Australian advice markets together, and it's off to a great start.
Excellent, thanks. We look forward to contributing in the future.